Welcome to the Wollongong Art Gallery. Once inside, we will look at Australia's art exhibition, where we will see many famous Australian artists' work. There will be paintings, prints, drawings, sculptures, and mixed media artworks, so let's take a look. First is Margaret Preston. She was born in Adelaide in 1875. During World War I, she spent time living overseas in Paris and Britain, developing her decorative abstract modernist style. In 1929, she became the first woman and modernist artist to have her artwork in the Art Gallery of New South Wales. She travelled around Australia to study the sites of the Aboriginal rock paintings to inspire her artworks. Let's take a closer look. The Aboriginal design of fish and lizard, printed in 1943, is of a woodblock print. It shows some detail that you can tell was inspired by some Aboriginal rock paintings that Margaret Preston viewed. And an early work from 1925, when she was just starting out, called Birds of Paradise, shows some beautifully hand-coloured printed in gouache, shows her unique and beautiful look at Australia's flora and fauna. Let's take a look at some ways that you can do some printing. You can do a simple print made from a foam board, and all you have to do is draw with pen into the foam board and it becomes a printing block. Once printed on paper or coloured paper, you can collage that to create an abstracted collage. Another artist is John Olsen. He was born in 1828 and started drawing in 1946. In 1956, he joined some other artists in a group exhibition, and that introduced abstract expressionism to Australia. He didn't earn much money from his art, so to support his family, he had a teaching job as well. His artworks are about Sydney, ocean life, animals, food, and sunshine, and they have a drawing element within them with lots of lines and circles. Let's take a look. Lily Pads is a mixed media artwork on paper, and that's a really recent one in 2015. And mixed media means that it could have pen, ink, paint, gouache, pencil, lots of different media to come up with the artwork. In that one, can you see any creatures? I can see something hopping around. I can see lots of frogs on the lily pad. Another artwork that has lots of drawing and detailed elements is Five Bells, and it's actually an oil painting, but I really like it, so I put it in. And he painted that in 1963. Let's take a look at some drawing elements that you could include. You could start from drawing from memory, just some animals, some horses, a giraffe. Think about which one was easier and maybe why. And also you could try some continuous line drawing, and that's a really simple way for an introduction into abstraction. And you can start that way with a simple pen on paper, and you just look at the object. You do not look at what you're drawing, and you do not leave the page, which is hard in itself, but it's really a fun activity. Here's a mixed media artwork that's a collage. It's got lots of things in it, rubbings from leaves, it's got pens, it's got ink, it's got paper, oil pastels, all put in together with lots of lines to form an aerial view of a landscape. Another artist to look at is Rosalie Gascoigne. She was born in 1917 in New Zealand, and she came to live in Australia in 1943, so we have claimed her as our own. She lived on Mount Stromlo with her husband, who was an astronomer, and she spent many years raising her family, wandering around, enjoying the vastness of the landscape. She is best known for her sculptural assemblages of found materials, lots of road signs, bits of boxes, iron, wire, and feathers. make up her artworks. She didn't have an exhibition until she was 57, but after that she exhibited widely through Australia and internationally. She is one of my favourite artists, and her artworks are abstract views of the landscape. Let's take a look. Here you can see, with just such simple material as yellow and black lines from the boxes, she's created an artwork that is simply beautifully poetic. She has many of those ones, and her sculptures are just as poetic and beautiful, with found materials juxtaposed with natural materials, such as in the crop, and also the feathered fence of lots of cockatoo feathers found lying around the land. The cockatoo features a lot in her artwork. Here are some examples of ways that you could do some artwork similar to Rosalie Gascoigne. You could do a collage of drawn words and printed words that are still easily read, that resemble a person's personality. You could then use similar words, cut them up into strips and rearrange them to form an abstracted collage of letters similar to Gascoigne's assemblages of road signs. Another thing that you could do is some sculpture. You could find some driftwood, wool, or anything lying around and play around with it and put it together in a sculptural form. Sometimes the shadows are just as interesting in the sculptures as well. Another artwork is Sidney Nolan. His artwork is modernist painting, and he did lots of work around bushrangers in the Kelly Gang. He is most famous for those works. They are rich in colour and have bold lines. Here you can see a view of Ned Kelly, and it is a satirical look at that, with some bold colours. And in the self-portrait, he uses primary colours to have boldness, to accentuate the self-portrait. Examples. It's a painted portrait with some paint and detailed added afterwards to suggest a face. So some painted backgrounds with simple motifs over the top, and also the details of a face emerging, a realistic and abstracted view combined. So there is just a few artworks, and there are many more at the gallery that you can explore. Once you get back to your classroom, have some fun enjoying your artworks.